What's up, guys? So this is video for the Be Detailed Auto Detailing channel. Right here I'm just sanding with some 3000 Grit Trizact on this Cadillac Escalade here. You notice here, just using my little Harbor Freight DA. I got some notes here, so I might pause to look at stuff to make sure I hit some cues. But you'll notice throughout points in this how I'm wiping here just to inspect my work as I'm sanding, just to make sure that I'm actually making a dent in the 1500 grit scratches prior that I didn't film. But basically, essentially the process here was to denib it, get the dirt nibs out. I went ahead and sanded most of the texture back because it wasn't quite matching the OEM look. So now I'm just going back with my 3000 grit scratches to go ahead and just refine what's there, so that when I go back with my buffing step, it's going to be a lot easier. And since this is a white finish, a white color, I won't have to refine it up to something super fine like 5,000. 3,000 should be more than enough to buff it out and just get to have an easy buff out and have a really good finish at the end. But yeah, just finishing through the passenger door here. Sanding underneath, tracing. I really like this Harbor Freight DA, man. It goes hard. Like, I've used it for a while now, and I will do a review on it at some point, but it goes hard, man. It definitely gets the job done. It's really loud, but I love it because it makes my presence known when I'm sanding. It's definitely not the smoothest sander. I mean, I've played with the Rupes Scorpio series, and having used this Harbor Freight DA and gone back to the Rupes, you definitely feel the difference. But I mean, there's no doubt that thing absolutely has power, and it does what it does, you know. I mean, not that you need a lot of power when it's finish sanding like this on a paint job or whatever. I mean, for the most part, I mean, the DA, I kind of keep it stalling. I'm not really like getting a lot of spin as I'm sanding. I'm just giving it enough power to give me a good, healthy oscillation. Because I don't want to, spin a whole bunch and then put some really aggressive marks and possibly risk like a bunch of pigtails and whatnot. I just find that when I keep pressure down on the DA and I just let it oscillate, you'll see right there how I just kind of had the DA and I left it out there away from the vehicle. Whenever I'm rinsing my disc, I'll actually I'll run the DA away from the vehicle so I can sling out some of the excess water. See, I'm doing it right there, and then I just go back and I start sanding again. But shoot, sorry. See, that's what I'm talking about. I just looked at my note sheet. But yeah, this Harbor Freight DA goes really hard, though. I mean, again, for the most part, I'm oscillating, but it absolutely kills for what it needs to do. And I love it, man. It's a really good tool. If you guys are looking at it, it's just a Baxter dual action sander, pneumatic, of course, air tool. Keep it oiled and whatnot. And yeah, it's been a nice little tool. Treated me pretty well so far. So at this point, I've probably noticed that my 3000 disc is not cutting the way it should. So I'm going ahead and swapping it out and going ahead and just finishing off this last quarter panel. But you are going to see that I actually go back within a couple minutes to hit that that rear door again, because I just do a quick buzz over, but I'm thinking to myself, as I know that I'm losing efficiency in cut, I definitely spent more time trying to squeeze out the last little bit of abrasive that I could, rather than just swapping to a new disc like I should have when I started to see that the cut was diminishing. Personally, I just don't think that you want to be wasting time, trying to squeeze out every last ounce of the 3000 disc. Once it's not cutting anymore, I think it just, once it's not removing those 1500 grit scratches, change out your disc. I know they're expensive, but you don't want to be trying to spend a whole bunch of time using a disc that's not being effective at cutting. So just about here, I'm pretty much finished with that quarter. So now I'm going back. So normally where I would be done sanding here and I could just grab the buffer, now I got to go back over the passenger door to hit any areas that essentially I know I didn't sand well. And even though, again, it's a relatively quick buzz over, it's still a time killer by a lot, you know. So it is something that I'm only so experienced with this, right? I'm still pretty new into the waters as far as like learning how to do all this, but yeah. Now, I think I'm going to, so right here, I'm about to I think I sprayed glass cleaner on it just to wipe off any, here it is. So here's a glass cleaner, wiping it down. This is the full side that I'm doing. But I just go ahead and wipe it down and get any of that sanding residue off, any of that clear coat residue off, just so that when I go ahead and get my rotary ready, I'm not mixing in a bunch of residue with it. I have a clean surface that I'm buffing on top of. Now, before I even get to, you see there, my Milwaukee mini buff, all I'm doing here is any sort of danger zones or anywhere where I don't feel comfortable putting my larger pad at, I'm just going to go ahead and knock those areas out now as best as I can. Just so that, honestly, I don't have to think about it at all with the larger disc. I don't like trying to fit my larger discs in areas where, you know, it just doesn't fit. You know, you can make it work if you know what you're doing, but honestly, sometimes it's just faster to knock out some of that more, I call it danger zone edge work, because edge work with relatively any size rotary pad isn't I'm not too fearful of it, but if it's in a danger zone where it's like, that pad's just not going to fit in well, it's not going to contour well or whatever, I'll just come in with this mini buff, man, and I'll just essentially hit the spots where I don't feel okay, knock them out, buzz them out, and then I'll focus on the larger, flatter areas with the rest. With my bigger disc to hit the rest of it all. So just knocking it out. And yeah, I'm using a wool pad with some compound. I do like my cut to be quick. I just prefer the wool pad. It feels the best to me. It's what I'm most happy with whenever I am polishing. It's just what I've gotten most accustomed to. I feel it gives me the most reliable cut. And yeah, you're going to leave swirls. You're going to leave swirls with any pad in the rotary, honestly. And of course, if you know technique, you can absolutely finish swirl free with a rotary. But for the most part, you know, if I know that I'm cutting with the rotary, I might as well go ahead and run the wool pad and just get it done. You know, I don't want to be spending a whole lot of time refining sand scratches. And, you know, I know at the shop we do run the 3M Trizact, the 3M Perfect one step, and that's nice. You know, it's not a bad product at all. I do like it, but I just tend to like the way the compound works for me a little better. I like being able to just get the white, we call it the white compound. I just like getting the 3M rubbing compound, get my wool pad, and essentially get the most thorough cut. It's not even so much about the most cut, but just getting the most thorough cut, to where as I've gotten through that panel, I know that I've gotten the sand scratches out to the best of my ability. You know, it's not like, they're there, but then I'm going to leave them in the sun and they're going to come back. I know when I do it this way that they're not coming back. I feel pretty confident in that, at least. So here, now I'm pulling out my 5-inch. I'm running the Harbor Freight Bauer buffer here. I'm using the Oberk backing pad, and I'm using the Buff and Shine Euro Wool, not the gray one, but the natural wool one. I could use the gray one. I just recently got my hands on a 5-inch one. But honestly, I mean, I like using the natural wool. I just love the cut of it. I love the feel of it with this pad, with that backing pad too. It's very smooth. I do go with the D handle for this because that polisher is really heavy and it weighs down on my hands a lot. I mean, on my shoulders and my arms. So I like D handle because it allows me to just lift the weight off of my bottom hand just a little bit, just to give myself a little more endurance. I used to do it without any handle, But I've really started to become accustomed to the D handle big time. I don't know what it is, man. I like the control. I like just the overall way it feels, and that's just what I like. I could do it either way. I mean, you see me here holding it from the top. Sometimes I just like having the option of it there, even if I am going to grab it from the top. If I need to grab it from the D handle like I'm doing here, I'll do it there. At first I couldn't figure out how to get the D handle on that tool for the longest, but finally I was just able to do it. It's still like one side still is like slightly like not loose, but it's not fully like screwed and locked in secure. But I haven't had any problems with it like falling off or snapping on me at all. And so far, I mean, it's been doing good, man. What are we at? Yeah. So, I mean, just here, just knocking a door out. I will say that, I probably buff longer than I need to in some areas. And, I mean, I can't remember everything that I was seeing in the moment here. But sometimes it looks like I'm doing a quick rebuff on a danger zone. Maybe saw some scratches in there that I felt needed a little bit of a check mark. But, yeah, here we go. Ripping through the driver's door. So, I mean, I think we're getting through it pretty fast. I mean, that's one half of that side knocked out. And pretty quickly we'll be able to get that driver's door knocked out. I mean, keep in mind that if you haven't figured it out already, this video is sped up just for the sake of us not being here for a full hour. Yes, that's how long it took me from the 3,000 grit scratch stage all the way up to the point where we wax it and wipe it down. It did take me about I'd say overall the whole job probably took me about 1:30 to get through. That's from denibbing all the way to the point where I waxed it. But yeah, I'm a big proponent of the Harbor Freight tools, man. I really, really love them a lot. I mean, I came up with the Harbor Freight Sander. I'm already here with the Harbor Freight Buffer. They're great tools, man. Are they the highest quality that you're gonna get? No, but are they absolutely packing a punch? Yeah. I mean, I even let today somebody at work, they tried my polisher for the first time, the same one that you see me using here to buff scratches out, and I mean, they loved it. I asked them what they liked about it, and weirdly enough, they said the same thing I said about the D handle, which was, I liked that I had the D handle to kind of help with the weight of it, but also he liked the backing. He used a 7-inch backing pad that comes with this, but he liked the way that the backing pad plus foam pad combination that he used with it, he said it just allowed him to have more control, and so he enjoyed it more for that reason. So more about the setup than the polisher itself. But yeah, anyhow, through the door, getting to the fender now. And here I'll be honest, I'm drawing some pretty long beads here, but honestly, as I've started to see how fast I blow through product, I'm starting to have a bigger emphasis on myself for trying to make the most out of smaller beads and working smaller sections at a time. So right here, I'm going into my DA refinement step. So now I'm just taking out any of the swirls that I left behind the first step. And actually, for this white paint, this is going to be enough to just finish it out. I'm not even going to have to go to the foam pad. There are some times where this step won't be enough even on a lighter color, and you will see the micro marring. But in this particular case, for this paint, when I worked on this job, I didn't need to go to the foam pad. I finished it out well enough for us to, move it on, just with the microfiber and the 3M rubbing compound. I'm not using a lot of product, the microfiber pad, because I didn't touch the product on there after I did the rotary pass. Whatever film is still left on there, I'm just kind of putting a couple drops on the pad to give the pad some lubrication. But then majority of what it is I'm using the residual film that's still on the panel and just essentially doing a real quick buzz down to take out the swirl pattern that was left behind by the rotary, so I just have a clean surface, essentially. Just cleaning it up. That's all we're doing. And here we go. So now I'm using the little waxing, we call it Old Blue at the shop, or at least I do, Old Blue. We're knocking it out. We're using the Meguiar's Yellow Wax 26, number 26, M26, I think you would call it, but really nice stuff. Wipes off really well. I actually like kind of using this larger orbital, to be honest, because it lays down a really even film that is like really easy to wipe off. So that's one thing I appreciate here, you know. I mean, it doesn't take long to dry, and you know, you can wipe it off pretty quick. It's a really efficient wax, honestly, in my opinion. I like it a lot. I do use 2 towels. I kind of just use one to get the main residual off, and then I'll use a second one to come back as like a final buff off. Just to essentially remove as much of the residue as possible before we start the unmasking and whatnot. So here we go, full side wipe down, unmasking the tape, opening up the doors, because I'm gonna get the gonna go ahead and clean out the door jambs and whatnot, and also just again getting anything where there was any cracks and crevices and whatnot. What I'll do is I'll take the microfiber towel and I'll put a popsicle stick in the microfiber towel, and then I'll use that to see how I'm going around the door handle right there and under the chrome trim. I'll just use that to clean that out. Any compound I left here, I had a missed area, so I had to go back and rebuff it real quick. But anywhere where I had some compound that might have got up in or whatever, I'll just go through with that popsicle stick tucked away in the microfiber towel, and it just takes it right out real easy. It's actually a really awesome trick that I learned from J&G Auto Reconditioning. If you watch these guys on YouTube, awesome people, man. I've learned a lot of good tips from them. Where are we at? But you know, rebuffing and just rewaxing some missed areas, hitting it with the microfiber pad. Gonna go ahead and just hand wax those areas right there. And that's another thing that sometimes gets me, you know, is just missing spots, man. Sometimes you don't realize it, but yeah. Here we go. We're just going through the final inspection, letting you guys see the final product, the final finish. Yes, the wax is probably going to fill some of it. So if there was micromarring or if there was something, yeah, it's probably being hidden from you here, especially since the camera's not going to show all that. I'm trying to get close to give you guys the best view of it. You know, it definitely isn't a perfect job, but I think we did pretty good here. You know, I just want to try to give as close to a transparent result as I can. But yeah, this is what our final product looks like after, you know, polishing it, sanding, you know, denibbing, sanding, polishing, and waxing. So hopefully the customer enjoyed this ride when they got it back. You know, it was a pleasure to enjoy it. It was a pleasure to polish it. But anyways, the video is going to end soon, so hopefully you guys enjoyed watching me polish this thing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing the final result. If there's anything that you want to say, like, comment, subscribe, whatever. Don't know how to end it, but I got to end it quick. Dang, it looks good, man. I feel pretty proud about that. All right, talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.